into the University of Liberia, about a quarter of them failed. So most likely,
Like I said, we're being lazy just sending money. Like, I know it sounds like really weird that we're being lazy, but all these foreign countries are spending way too much money putting it into this continent, and all these governments are not even giving it to the people. We're basically wasting money sending it to the things when these people are just spending it on themselves and being selfish. So when we have enough money, we can send somebody over there to, you know, if you want to give money to education, go to the school and actually give the principal the money instead of going to the government and just expecting them, the selfish people that they are, to give them to the actual schools.
I want to hear Nick's
Also,
part on this.
what Jessica said was that we're not just sending money. We're also, we might be sending military aid, we might be sending medical aid, we might be sending food aid, missionaries.
So Nick, what's your view on this?
Jessica?
I've been trying to talk on
Then go.
I was going to bring up a new topic actually though. Over the last 60 years, $1 trillion has been spent well over $1 trillion has been spent on Africa. Couldn't this be put towards to reconstruct other poor countries instead of focusing on just Africa?
Well, I think what a lot of the foreign countries that give aid to Africa, what they're sort of thinking is, if we can help this whole continent, then they can help us, instead of saying, well, here's this itty-bitty country in Asia, we don't need to help them, we need to help a larger continent of people. But I think that's true, you do need to help other countries and stuff and not just focus on one place. And I'm going to pull Jessica, and I really want to hear Ty's thoughts on this.
We should give, stop focusing on mainly on Africa, because there's a lot of, Asian countries that, are in poverty and diseases. And I also think that, instead of giving, money to the country itself, we should, drop, care packages with food and supplies and more or less the money.
Ty, are you saying that because you feel like it's something that you morally want to do, or it's the right thing to actually do?
Oh.
Does it help certain people?
But also,
do certain things, not
remember-
because you morally feel like you
Let him
do
answer.
stuff?
but also,
We ask him a question also. Hunter. Sorry.
It is a good thing to do, but I would want to help everybody that is poverty.
So that falls into the goals.
Well, yes, you should help each country, but back on what Rebecca said earlier about how just giving the money to the government, we don't just give money to the countries, we also send medical supplies, missionaries.
I was going to say something about what Cassie said earlier about the declining poverty rate, and it is actually 40%, and 60% of that other is, they're probably just lucky because they haven't gone into poverty, and this is not just right now or it's not today, but I'm pretty sure it keeps on declining. But if we did send all of these care packages and all this stuff, what do you think would happen to their government? Do you think they would take it into consideration and just keep on, having the poverty rate decline, or do you think it's gonna, their life is going to improve and everybody's gonna be able to live happily?
It's not going to be that easy of just simply going, well, here's a care package, you can have it, this is going to make your life better. Because you would have to keep sending it and keep sending it.
Yes.
And you don't need to just focus on just one little individual. You need to go to different villages and stuff and say, well, we're going to give each family 2 cows or something to help them if they need money or if they need meat or if they need,
Well,
leather or
let's look
something.
at Africa. Let's look at Africa as this little child. When you give this little child, say, some candy, as soon as the child is done with all that, it's gonna want more, and then more, and then more. So when you just keep on giving foreign aid to Africa, it's just gonna want more and more and more foreign aid.
What,
Like what?
okay, when, like, this one's gonna sound a little silly, but I'm serious. Like, if a kid, like, back to what Cole said, if a kid likes cotton candy, and if you just give him the cotton candy, and why don't you just give him a cotton candy maker, so he can make his own cotton candy?
So
Like,
you're
we can give them the tools to
To keep on
to-
doing it.
to
After-
keep,
Good analogy.
yeah, to, you know.
I'd like to
saying
point out, I'd like to point out that the article says that the poor don't pull themselves out of poverty because the basic ability to do so is denied to them. And then it goes on talking about, in Egypt's The Square, a big rally broke out because of the government's lack of public services and equality of opportunity. And I'd also like to hear what Alexis has to think about this.
Thank you, I've been trying to talk it. Well, back to what Cole said, a little bit earlier, we're not hitting the right spots in aid that, like, we need to be hitting on, like, we don't need to keep sending money to the government if we know that the government isn't gonna give it to the people, and it needs to go to the people, so we need to go to the villages and actually give the money and the water and whatever to the people.
But not everybody is in the village. And not,
We're not saying that.
and not all the governments are going to take their money. Some governments in Africa are not really corrupt, and some are just really corrupt where they take everything that they can from the poor people. And I would like to see what Nadia said about this.
I was gonna say that these countries are pretty young and they have young governments, and maybe the governments, they're learning. So, like, they get money and they can afford with this money a university, but they can't afford the education of their own students to be in the university.
I like what he said, because it really does explain the, topic we are on right now. And I would like to see what Katie has to say about this.
Going off what Matthew said, I mean, we can't bottle feed these young countries. They have to know how to stand on their own feet and do what they need to do without all of this money coming in.
But you can get the facilities for university and stuff like Matthew said, but a lot of the money is just going towards the facilities, it's not going to the actual education of these students. I think we need to spend more money not building these amazing facilities for these people and stuff. We need to focus on, you need an education and we're going to give you one.
What are we doing to, like, help with conflicts such as civil wars? It's one of the main causes for poverty.
Well,
We need, like, peace organizations.
with education, I mean, wouldn't that sort of, as y'all think, wouldn't that sort of stop civil wars and all that? Because they're more educated and they're thinking smarter, and there's gonna be less poverty, which poverty is a big cause of war because it changes people's minds and it can cause riots and many different things.
Well, being smarter isn't going to keep your country from having a civil war. I mean, when America had their civil war, we have plenty of smart people, but a lot of times you just have disagreements. And it doesn't matter if you're smart or not, it just happens.
Well, war's everywhere, so.
So like when your sister steals something from you, you're not gonna sit there and say, Civil War now, or something like that. You're gonna actually try to talk it out with her, like, can you just give it back, can I do this and get it back, or something like that. You're not going to be sitting there going, I'm gonna kill you for doing this, and stuff like that, if you're, no.
Well, civil wars don't just happen like that. They don't just say, oh, I hate you, so we're gonna fight you.
Yeah.
You have disagreements, and gradually it just builds up until your whole country is warring. And I would like to hear Bella's thought on this topic.
Okay, so why are we helping all these foreign countries when we have our own problems? We have very many problems of our own. Like, why don't we try to solve our problems and then help the other countries?
Well, the countries, if we didn't help other countries, we were seen as not like a traitor, but the person who doesn't want to see. So if another world war or something like that happens, they want to go against us instead of someone going with us. And I'd like to see what Cassidy has to say.
Yay! I've been waiting for like 10 minutes. What Cole said about the kid with the candy, if the kid is smart enough, instead of going back to the person to get the candy, they'll work to try to get the candy. Not from the person, but they'll work to try to make the money to get the candy.
Also, they might not want to do the work to get that candy, because if we were in the Great Depression again, and we needed very badly needed some help from another country, we're just gonna ask. We're not gonna try and work it through them. We're just gonna ask, and then afterwards we might try to work it out with them, saying we owe you this, or we'll give you this thanks to you giving us that. And we're basically bargaining them to give us this so we can get.
That would.
I would like to hear Matthew's stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say that Denton said, if you give these, what Cassidy said, these people, I'm disagreeing because they're not gonna wanna do it themselves if they can easily get it without having to do anything.
Well, if they like to
So that's why you stop giving aid, and that's why you give them, like Denton said, a cotton candy machine.
You'll work to get that cotton candy machine to make more candy.
If you like it enough, then you're gonna do whatever it takes to get more of it. Say you're really, really hungry, and you said, man, planting is so much work, but it's worth having food. You're going to say, I'm going to plant this crop so my family can have food.
That reminds me of say like laziness. Aren't the foreign countries being the most laziest out of everybody? Because all they're doing is they're just sending the money. They're not actually helping them. That's what back to Rebecca said. I'm not done. Hold up. So maybe we should start trying to go in there, send people in there, and start actually helping them instead of just being lazy and just sending them money.
We already sent people there. We
Okay.
already.
I'd like to hear Tristan's comment on this.
We said, but the foreign countries are lazy. Well, Australia, they tried to send $2 billion last month for medical doctors and nurses to help them so they could get nurses and doctors. So they're not being lazy like you said, foreign countries.
But that's just one country. Why can't we all do that?
But we already have people going over there. Like, we have missionaries going over to these countries and helping them. It's not like we have nobody going there saying, oh, well, here's the money. We're just going to give y'all the money and let y'all do whatever you want with it. We have people going over there and saying, well, hey, this village needs a water pump so they can get water. And I'd like to hear Mackenzie's thought on this.
Thank you. I really liked what Bella said about we need to solve our own problems and then help other people, because if we learn how to solve poverty in the United States, that'll help us learn how to better solve poverty in Africa or Australia or wherever in the world that it needs to be solved.
But also, it might not be the same as it is in America, because in Africa, as I said earlier, we have been taking its resources so long and then selling the byproducts that we've been making from this resources that we get from there and then selling back to them. So we're just taking money from them.
We only have a minor amount of poverty in the U.S. anyways, and if we do fix Africa's might be grateful and they might be able to help us in return for helping them.
I have two things to say. Okay? Let me get my sentence out. Number one, have you ever heard the saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you? No.
Yeah.
It kind of means that don't, like Africa, they're keep on trying to give us money and trying to get foreign aid and stuff like that. They're just going to keep on until we're broke and they're rich now. And they've spent all their money on stupidest stuff like we have. Well,
Ms. Lloyd, I